money. And like we said, HR, they've played this twice. Semi-finals last week, groups the week prior. Maybe that sets them up for what could be a top 2 finish in this one. And if they got a win, that would be brilliant. Just for this team mentally to also press on and go forward, I feel.
Absolutely going to be a significant one. Nobody wanting to drop down into that lower bracket. We saw Pact yesterday losing their opening match, and then they actually came back and played all the way into that decider series, and then unfortunately just lost out at the final hurdle. And you just felt so sorry for them at this point, that it really stresses the emphasis how important it is to get off to a strong start, how important it is to find a positive route through that bracket, because it's just going to make your opportunities so much easier in these cups. And as soon as you get into the best of 3 segments, at least it's a bit easier, but you really want to be getting into those playoffs to try and, you know, confirm some cash in the bank at the minimum.
The 2 other teams we just should be mentioning also in this group. Well, Crazy and AGF currently on the other stream. Really feels like quite an open group in the respects that most of these sides seem to be quite level playing fields. Obviously, a couple of the teams would be favoured among others, but in general, quite an open group. And if anything, all 4 sides really have a good chance of playoffs. It's then going to be a case of, can they go up and face the likes of Fate and Singularity really going into some of the playoff games later in the week?
Well, that was really an intense day of Counter-Strike yesterday, especially between Singularity and Pact. And Singularity, interestingly enough, obviously Mert's just leaving that roster, but Nikadov's stepping up very strongly as an AWPer, so they're going to be formidable opponents in the playoffs for sure. And out of the teams that you've got available as well, you know, AGF, they have been relatively surprising at certain points. Crazy, we know, can be a strong side as well. HELLRAISERS and HONORIS, this group certainly feels that it might be a little bit more of a stacked one here in the Malta Vibes Cup 3, and that just makes it all the more dangerous for today's Counter-Strike.
Shouldn't be too far from at least the start of this one. It's going to be a good one. It's a best of 1, of course. Winners get the shot at them progressing to that winners best of 3. After that, if you win that series, you're straight through into the playoffs. But defeat here for either side, it's going to be a lot more pressure, seriously, going forward later into this event. You'll have a decider match. And if you can't win that, well, you could be in trouble. You could be essentially out of this week's play. And of course, you win the 40, there's at least $40 up to play for, but there's also a little boot camp in Malta for the respective winners. There's also a nice little bonus.
Obviously, it is going to be able to utilize that boot camp, increase your team cohesion, and overall get a better drill of the game, increase your performances in online tournaments like this one. And well, it is HELLRAISERS who have won this opening round. Now heading into the second, they've got 4 rifles on the board with a MAC-10 in the hand of JR. It's the force that's come out from HONORIS at this point to try and contest early on that CT side and see if they can swing around back early on.
Well, for now, Neo on the scout just looks to back away. HONORIS will be forced to really defend the Ivy end of train in round number 2 of their force one. Shots for the AK, just a warning signal, if anything. HR, well, JR specifically, sends off a little smoke into the distance and Molotov to support it. And realistically, the Poles are more than happy just to give this up somewhat. Prism will be up closer to really make that first point of contact. The scout reloads. It's now going to be a lot of pressure. HR now look towards the A site.
Ryko, got to be cautious with that Deagle. He could get overwhelmed quite quickly, as the rest of his side already have been. HELLRAISERS with 3 quick opening kills. Now, those 3 players are tagged down low, but ultimately, all they have to do is remain passive at this point. HONORIS know that they can't think about contesting this bomb with 5 alive. They want to save the scout and the armor into the next round, which is in itself guaranteed to be the eco coming out from this CT side. So HELLRAISERS, they don't muck up the opening conversion. They get this fourth round, and they should have an easy third on the cards in the next.
Not a bonus is that they'll be looking to keep all 5 of these players alive. Try and build up the bonus. At least that's HR's point of view. Flowich the last to escape. The AK in hand. They kept that AK, they've not lost that, so that's also a bonus they can work with. One last kill at the end. JR was the only player to fall right in the nick of time for Stomp, so a little bit of extra cash, but I don't think his side can get too much in.
The odds there from our betting partners over at LootBet indicating that HELLRAISERS, the heavy favourites here on this map. It was their choice really to take us here, as HONORIS just had to take out their permaban as the last wave in the series, and the odds certainly reflecting that at this point. It's on to HONORIS as the underdogs to try and mount a comeback at this point, but they certainly don't look like they can get much done in this round without any weapons available.
Well, the eco, at least for HELLRAISERS, it should be an easy set of kills. Stomp has been allowed 1 back, though. Not going to make this too easy, and with Neo picking up that little weapon also, it does mean that this can become a lot more damaging, maybe, for the HR squad. Kalinka just covers. His teammate now looks at the bomb plant. They just about get that down, but no, they don't, in fact, because Taz took him out, and JL got, in fact, a trade kill.
HONORIS, they shouldn't have had any opportunities in this round, and they've brought it back closely to a 2-on-2. Now, these 2 rifles don't have body armor available, but if they can use positioning, if they can get the drop on the flank, get a lucky headshot, that's all that's necessary. Scout from Stomp tagging the damage as Taz now, or Neo even, on that Galil is going to have a much easier job, but can't convert it. How unfortunate, narrowly missing out on that kill, and now Stomp Scout has to retake the bomb site alone. Yes, JR's on 2 HP, but Kalinka absolutely full in the side channel. Stomp can't land the shot, and HELLRAISERS, they do eventually convert that third, but it's not as easy as it should have been.
Shouldn't have been that easy. HONORIS certainly did a lot of damage, so now the CTs can get out the M4. Stomp, he'll have the initial AWP in this round, and Kalinka isn't quite going to go for that big green gun yet. 4 AKs are Galil on JR. They are looking to build up this bank economically on the T side. A full set of weapons and utility, at least from both sides' point of view. So you'd expect a default to come out from HR's point of view. An AWP is there, but an AWP can't hit a shot. So Jalen, for now, can escape luckily.
Stomp does find that opening kill on to JR, but Jalen, he's got 1 straight back in the 4-on-4. AK's continuing to advance forward into this A-bomb site. Still 4 defenders alive for HONORIS. That's the positive as Prism opens up onto Kalinka and swings the man advantage now into the CT's favor. And HELLRAISERS, they don't have to commit to this A site if they don't want to. B is still an option, but Taz is waiting, lurking in the wings, and it's Jalem who actually opens up over on this A-bomb site. Flowich as well to take down Neo. And Stomp now with the AWP could be in trouble. He gets 1 shot before fading away to the B site, but it's going to have to be a retake from HONORIS if they want the round.
Well, a CT retake now comes in. Stomp and Taz. I don't want to say it's impossible with the kit and the flashbang that they've got, but they don't have a smoke, so they can't precisely go for that ninja play. Jalen, no problem. Just have to wait for the sound cue to really get something given up, but they're looking the other way. HONORIS, both of their players have come out of the second tunnel, and problem just waits for the timing on this. HONORIS, they're trying to play it together. That's all they've really got as an opportunity. Problem gets them both. The AWP and the M4 can't be recovered. HONORIS lose everything, though. They may be forced down to an eco. HR win the first gun round. That's an AWP in JR's hands, and for HONORIS, a very early pause just to try and work things out.
They're going to try and break up this T-side momentum. They know in that best of 1 that it all comes down to your early efforts. It all comes down to that momentum, which can take over series. And HONORIS, with the timeouts available, might as well be using them at this point. Might as well have that opportunity. Discuss what they're going to do going forward. Yes, there is buy potential, but the rifles would be so limited, the utility as well. just a non-factor in the upcoming round if they went for it. So instead, it's just the small pistols. Let's drop down, keep everyone above that 2K mark. You see teams in the current online meta extending down over towards 1,500 a lot of the time, and that can leave you quite sacrificial in terms of utility, especially on that CT side. So definitely looking more for that $2,000 target as the optimum buy there.
I fully agree. There's lots of times where I've seen teams just go for maybe some sort of 1,500 buy, and it's not been too ideal in the follow-up round. And the best of ones, you've got to get the weapons and economy going as soon as you can. Jalen finding Taz. That's already an entry found for the HR side in the initial stages. Back to B site, and HONORIS really just looking for damage. Flourish might get two, and he does. Ryko and Neo both dealt with. That could be a third here. No? Stomp gets him back, and he's got 2 headshots off of this. You know what? For an eco, they've done so well, and HR, as expected, do again come off better.
That's a real positive for HONORIS in these eco rounds. They're keeping it close. They're taking 2 or 3 players down every time. And if they were on the T side, that would be much more important than it is on the CT because of just how lenient that T side economy can be. But it is still keeping the economy for HELLRAISERS relatively under control. You know, Problem and Farich, they've not been able to develop much of a bank. Jalem as well to a certain extent. So if HONORIS can string 2 or 3 rounds together, they can certainly break this HELLRAISERS economy. But that double nade stack, absolutely brilliant and demolishes Ryko on the A side.
That's not something you see too often. T side's going for the nade stack because as a CT side, you'll always send that Molotov and grenade combo just to try and slow down any fast pushes out of T main. But now though, HONORIS, they've got an advantage again, cut away from them. Stomp and Ryko. At least one of them is dead. The other, an AWPer, heavily tagged up. Look at this Problem, just waiting for HONORIS to give him a potential problem. Low and passive, as the smoke gets sent down towards Pop Dog. All they're doing is waiting for HONORIS to make a mistake. HELLRAISERS, again, it's so passive.
HELLRAISERS are just waiting for an overextension. You're absolutely right. And they're waiting for it at anywhere in the map. They have no preconceptions about where they want to attack at this point. That's why they have players waiting. Ivy, T-Con, Pop, anywhere that HONORIS extends, that's where they're going to look for an opening kill, and that's when they're going to try and capitalize. Their Problem falling towards B could shift the targets over towards the A bomb site, but Prism's good for the second kill and the third even. JR late taking him down, but Stomp still alive on just 2 HP is getting the work done. It's the pistol of Neo to find Kalinka towards the end. The double AWPs for HONORIS, they absolutely do bail them out. There's another buy on the cards and an opportunity to start to manage their opponent's economy.
I'm looking at the HELLRAISERS money. It doesn't look to be perfect or perfect for what they'd want in this upcoming round. They've at least managed an AWP, AKs, and some Galils in it. Problem only on smoke and a flash. Might be an issue later on, but for now, HR will again look towards that opening kill. Where they've been favoured. It's where they've had the better opportunities to try and close out the round. Neo this time finding Jalen as his opponent was quickly rushing down towards Olaf. Not an ideal start from HELLRAISER's point of view, but this is better from HONORIS. They find the opening and they get a lot of damage done onto an external player also.
JR incredibly low now as well. Just 9 HP to the AWPer's name. That puts a stop to him aggressively peeking into bomb sites as the first man. And now HELLRAISERS, it's back to baiting. Try and trigger out some HONORIS aggression. Find an opening kill and then convert that into something. Flourish gets Ryko in Pop Tog and secures that map control as well. That has to cause HONORIS to back off a little bit, but it doesn't have to cause them to stop firing. Stomp, his sniper rifle, shouting out now for a kill in the round. And HELLRAISERS, they're considering the B-bomb site.
Well, Flash has gone out, HONORIS. They did have no one left on the site, but JR finding Stomp is certainly a welcome opening. At least from their point of view, because the Stomp and the AWPers have been doing so much more work. Taz on top might look to even deny a bomb plant at this point here. But JR, in fact, well, Flourish is the player who comes off better there. So now HR get a chance to maybe close out the round from a disadvantage earlier. JR gets the bomb down. It's him and Flourish left against Neo Orpin.
Creeps forward and finds the first kill, but JR, too quick, punishes eventually that readjustment from the AWP, that's the issue. There's that dead zone where you're vulnerable, and unfortunately for Neo, he couldn't get back to cover in time. And there we are. Time to talk about our partners over at Hellcase. You won't get bored with Hellcase, and use the promo codes on your screen now to save more and grab what you deserve. The narrowly lost round by HONORIS, but lost nonetheless. They're still investing into this one, but it's a much more stretched buy.
A really horrific buy from their point of view. They've got an AWP on Stomp, they've got an SMG on Prism, and then everyone else on some form of pistol. So they've really tried to go for it.
They just charged straight out onto the A-bomb site, finding 3 kills in the opening.
Regret buying up.
AWP looking to reply for 1. It's the 4-on-2 situation now, and HONORIS, they look like they just have to back straight out of here.
There's not much they can do. Keep the AWP going. Force buy really hasn't worked out the way the Polish squad wanted it to. HONORIS, they're not a stranger to this event. Ended up in the groups of week 2. Didn't get out of them. I would love to get out of these groups this week. So far, this opening Vesta one really isn't going their way.
Certainly not. 7-1 down on the CT side of Train. Entering trouble territory, HELLRAISERS with the opportunity now to start closing it out with a dominant half, and HONORIS don't have the chance to put double AWPs on the board either. A couple of players, Taz and Ryko, struggling in terms of the kills. Ryko still yet to frag so far in this map. He's been having a bit of a nightmare holding the ladder room on that A-bomb side, and perhaps that's a weakness that HELLRAISERS are continuing to exploit.
For now, not finding too much. And I want to see what HONORIS can really achieve now they've only got 1 AWP out. They looked weaker when they had just a singular AWP, or they weren't as comfortable when they had 2 of them. Now they've got 1, let's see what they can find. For now though, Stomp and Taz, the 2 experienced veterans, now look to hold off what's going to be a attack of the B site. 4 AKs and an AWP. And a good set of utility which can ensure this isn't going to be a quiet or closed off entry. You're just going to reposition as looks at the first. 3 players cross on top. Nothing coming from lower yet, but a different angle, and Flourish can at least take advantage. Him and Problem find the kills.
No problems for HELLRAISERS at all in that B-bomb site. Problem taking them all out early, and yet again HONORIS have to save, but Neo stomping around. Kalinka removing that rifle from the save, and now giving his own position away is Prism. He's under threat from these hunting HELLRAISERS players. They definitely want to take the rifles away and deal this late half economic damage, but Prism has the opportunity to deal some of his own. With 3 in front, he won't be able to convert any more than the 1 he had, and HONORIS are denied any save weapons. That's going to mean that it's likely just to be pistols invested into this as they look for the full buy up in the next one, as the utility would be so limited if they bought here, but it looks like that's the call they want to go for.
They've got so much pressure now to come back from at least an 8-1 scoreline. You know, it's historically and usually a CT heavy map, but for now, HELLRAISERS on the T side are just making this look quite easy with little issues. HONORIS has been lacking opportunities for them really to take advantage in gunfights and in lots of the Angels. For now though, an AK just about spotted out a scout. JR and Jalen do well to at least find their initial kills. While the scout does do damage, it eliminated JR through a wallbang of Flourish, in fact. It's for now just an easy cleanup, just an AWP left, and Stomp at least finds 1 back from Connector.
Just don't peek the AWP 1 by 1. That's all they have to do in Kalinka. He finds the opening headshot, saves the AWP now forward from HELLRAISERS, and this is an incredibly dominant T-side. 9-1 scoreline. HONORIS, they're going to reinvest, but this time they have no AWPs to their name. And HELLRAISERS are just on an absolute tear at the moment on Train. Working beautifully. and hoping to continue their scoreline in the upcoming round.
This time, HONORIS are just down to the M4s, just the automatic rifles from long range. A lot more has to be done if they really want to stand a chance in this opening best one. And they can't even find the initial aim kills. Jalen, when he pushes out, his kills just look so convincing and so unmatched. That HONORIS can really provide. Looks for the third, but just so aggressive, so confident. Prism puts an end to his life temporarily. HELLRAISERS have a minor advantage.
And they've made that advantage even bigger now. Taz pushing up Pop Dog. Removed on his aggression, and Prism left alone in this A-bomb site. He's just trying to save yet again. HONORIS have absolutely nothing to work with in the next round. And HELLRAISERS 10-1. This is a statement from them in the opening map. They're not looking to mess around today. And HONORIS are looking in serious trouble if they want to avoid that lower bracket. They'd need, perhaps at minimum, every round in this half for my money if they want to stay in this map.
They seriously do. And you're looking now towards your second timeout. It's, okay, fair enough. It feels like a good time to really have it. The weapons aren't going to be too ideal going into this one. You might get a couple of M4s at a push, but not going to be one of these perfect buys that really you would have wanted a couple of rounds earlier. And if you're looking at this sort of scoreline, if you're potentially facing up against HELLRAISERS later in the event, you might just start to want to even avoid trade at this point. HELLRAISERS, they've made this look quite easy. It's not as if there's been many rounds that have come down to bomb plants or explosions, but more the case that HR, they're just pushing in and finding the kills. It's confidence rising at a massive level. HONORIS, they will at least have pistols in this one, but so far, one round achieved on the CT side. Potentially 4 more to find, and it would need to start now.
It absolutely would. HONORIS, their individuals need to step up a little bit at this point. Ryko still hasn't gotten a kill in this map so far. And problem, oh, he's under a lot of pressure. Taz is able to get aggressive. And they swarm with the CZs to find the opening kill, but that gives space. That's the problem with this strategy. HELLRAISERS, they have to use it, though, because a flank is on the way. Neo's 5-7 looking for damage, and Kalinka nearly makes an error. He does so, actually. Taz can punish, and now Stomp creeping through the smoke. This is the round that perhaps could go the other way. Flaric, the last alive, can't convert on to Prism, and all predicated off of that early aggression towards the back of B. It's enough to convert around for HONORIS.
Well, HONORIS really can go for a double AWP setup. Taz could have got the second AWP, but in fact, Stomp will have it. And Neo takes the second one. They both have armor. They both got a pretty comfortable buyout. And that half buy certainly did wonders. For not just the CT economy, but maybe their hopes going forward. But it's just a standard daily office for HR. Rebuy what they've got. Get the AWP and AKs back out. No issues so far. And again, just a heavy stack of utility goes towards Team A. A tag even towards Flaric through one of the walls. I believe that was one of the AWPs achieving that.
Early damage dealt. Still HELLRAISERS looking to push in. Taz too aggressive. The flashes blind him, and now is this pop dog play given away? Both players spotted, and they're continuing to aggress. Ryko finally getting kills. He finally shows up, and it's with a triple kill in the round. JR in the 1-on-3 now with his AWP. Multiple opponents hunting him down. He doesn't even have the bomb on his back, and it's Neo to finish it off. HONORIS, they might just have the opportunity to recover this half yet. There might be some salvage on the horizon.
There's certainly still a chance, but they've now got to really find two more, because to me, if you're going in towards a second half T side at 11-4 down, even 12-3 down at this point, it doesn't really give you that positive and hopeful mindset that a comeback is easy to achieve. They're going to have to seriously upset HR if they want to try and get a comeback going. Over towards A, it's going to be HONORIS left to do nothing. HR gets up for what's going to be quite a fast B play. So quickly, 4 players in the upper tunnels.
Neo waiting with the AWP, and Taz on the upper angle with the M4. The veterans charged with defending the B-bomb site, but the first has already fallen. Raiko's rotated in now to support Neo. The HELLRAISERS are dumping utility in the site. Raiko's gotten incredibly aggressive. That's the call that he's made instead, and the AWP can't be effective at long range. Perhaps he can up close. He only gets one kill, leaving the man advantage in HELLRAISER's favor. Neo looking around, desperate to find something, but it's Flaric who considers aggressing through this smoke, hunting down the opposing double AWPs.
Well, there's the AK. Flaric wanted to double up, but it's still an advantage for his side. And finally, I think HONORIS just have to fall back and make the save call. They're looking for damage. Neo does at least achieve a kill. He's tagged up. He's on 12 HP. The nade, a welcome idea, but not too effective. And with the M4 dropped, I don't think Neo can do anything. Even he gets deleted. No AWPs, nothing. HONORIS lose everything. And heading into the last round of the half, they need 4, and they're going to force out what they can. And at best, it's 1 AWP and 2 M4s.
The SMGs in support as HELLRAISERS get through this entire first half, Louis, without having to take an eco. That is absolutely formidable from the CIS squad. Excellent economy management from them at this point. And it's just been wonderful play from start to finish on their T-side of train. They're looking to close this half out with the dominant 12-3 scoreline, and then if they converted the pistol, this map could be over before it began.
Well, it seems weird. Whenever HONORIS have SMGs, they certainly can still get damage done. They still find the occasional set of kills, so HR shouldn't be allowed to get off this one clean, honestly. Molotov and a smoke. That clears some of the deep angles and Ivy, which is where HR now look to work with. Another nade. But Neo up close with the smoke, gets flashed in, might get 1 or 2 kills, but with that deep smoke in the way, it isn't ideal, but somehow it's allowed to find JR.
Eventually, the spam works out. They're all stacked up in Ivy, and this is the issue. Neo gets the second as the smoke dissipates. HELLRAISERS all bunched together and are punished by that one tight avenue being used as practically a shooting range for Neo. 2 free targets, but the flash is giving room for HELLRAISERS to make their way into the backlines. They want to make this messy, but Raiko has denied the T-con part of this push. Stomp in the backlines has found Kalinka and Flaric. What on earth must he be thinking at this point? He is behind enemy lines, and now his position is given away.
This will be such a tough ask to somehow convert this 1 versus 5. 2 kills converted. The player towards CT hasn't actually peaked yet, so he could have a chance to maybe get the bomb plant player on site. Well, Taz specifically finds the kill to ensure there isn't an unlikely clutch out of this, but HONORIS only have 4 rounds on the CT side. HELLRAISERS, they've had a dominant, such a controlling T-half.
Absolutely great work from the CIS boys. Flaric leading the way on 17 kills in the first half alone. And it's just been a real great performance from these HELLRAISER guys. They've not looked like slowing down whatsoever on their T side. And as they head over towards the CT side, the pistol presenting an opportunity to quickly close out this match. HONORIS, they're desperate for the pistol just to stay in things. Even if they convert, they'd be down, you'd expect, an 11-7 scoreline before the full guns do come through. And even at that point, HELLRAISERS would have a 4-round advantage heading into the gun rounds on the CT side. It's just such a monumentous task ahead if HONORIS want to look for the comeback.
It feels like they've got too much work to do. It's not impossible to pull off by any means. And just to point out, HONORIS won their opening best-of-1 game last week and still failed to qualify for the playoffs. So it's turning to be the complete upside. And look at those odds. Oh.
That is fairly accurate, at least for my money. Our partners over at LootBet definitely thinking HELLRAISERS can close this one out. And I mean, if anything, those odds just show the guys of LootBet have been watching this, because I absolutely agree with them. HELLRAISERS have not looked like slowing down.
Talking about slowing down, HONORIS were looking at least towards the B site on the offense. They've got to really get something achieved on pistol. Kalinka already allowed to find that initial headshot. And as they try and march in, yes, the flash did something, and yes, there is the smoke there. And while HONORIS could get a bomb plant out of this, HR, they're more or less already prepared to play retake and already starting to push in. JR now won't find much resulting bullets.
The Glocks haven't found spam just yet, and Stomp gets one, but look at that! Absolutely clinical. JR at the end with a double, but HR, they get the 4 kills in reply for Stomp's 1. Beautiful pistol defense of the B bomb site, and now HONORIS are in serious trouble. Look, you can see them fighting at long range, and just the brilliant little readjustment there from JR. HONORIS, they're certainly going to be sweating now for their prospects at train, and they've gone for the full eco in the second. That's the guaranteed 13 you're expecting for HELLRAISERS.
Now out, a couple of players looking towards A main slowly. HONORIS, oh, if they walk into the scout, that would be an issue. And if Zeus somehow gets a kill, I would be amazed. Prism, though, does open things up quite cleanly. In fact, JR and Flourish, they seem to have little issues holding off this push. Flourish makes that look easy. And while Stomp was wanting something with Zeus, he hasn't been given anything. The bomb's been lost. HONORIS, who again give up another round.
Stomp has the Zeus, but the range of that weapon notoriously fickle, and there are no HELLRAISERS players, even in this same postcode at this point, with a whole minute left on the clock. You can't imagine he's just going to sit in Pop Dog the entire time and hope somebody walks into his Zeus crosshairs, but this seems at least what he's content with doing in the early instances. He knows that the second he walks out of that door, he's going to be wrecked by the CT rifles holding in towards that A bomb site. So he's going to try and wait for an exit, but HELLRAISERS, at least for now, too smart to give it to him.
And HR just really don't need to do anything at this point. The CIS squad, they've got the bomb drop, they've got control of everything, they're just watching all the angles, they're just being smart about this. It just certainly feels like there is a bit of a skill gap between these two sides at this point here, with how HELLRAISERS, they're being just so casual, so comfortable about holding onto the site, more or less respecting these last players, and while they are now looking for something to Glock, if it gets 1 or 2 kills off of this, that would be something. He's just too hungry for Zeus. Nothing's got to come in. And with the time expired, that's round 13 going HELLRAISERS' way. No bomb plant, little money. HONORIS have to convert this now.
Why has Stomp done that? Why cripple his own money like that? He just bought a Zeus in the round, and he decides not to give himself loss bonus just so that he can wait around in Pop Dog and maybe get a Zeus kill. Now the rest of his team are on a bye, and he can't afford a rifle because he just sat there doing nothing for a whole minute. Really perplexing decision from my perspective, but now HONORIS are aggressing out in towards the A bomb site. Shalem coming through the smoke is punished by Taz, and HELLRAISERS looking for the reply. It's Neo to get that follow-up headshot. The lack of firepower seemingly not mattering for HONORIS at this point.
Taz looks to double up, finds the kill back, but JR's the man to again respond. HR, they're at a disadvantage. HONORIS, they could really now take control in this gun round, and while we said Stomp have a weapon to work with, I don't really think that's mattered. His teammates have found the kills, the AKs have done all the work. It's a chance and hope for the Poles. 5. They've still got to get a good 7 or 8 rounds to even consider tying up this game.
HELLRAISERS, their economy is such a mixed bag that they look as though they want to go for the money bump in this round. Just bring their cash to an equal perspective. That way, even if they lose, everyone's taking ecos at the same time, and we don't have to take another save because one person's money is behind in a particular round. Stomp finally just wastes that Zeus for absolutely nothing. His team did convert the round prior, though, so he does have at least a small excuse to do so. JR has got an AWP in hand, but it's completely glass cannon, so lightning quick reaction is necessary from that CT sniper.
Resmoker Pop Dog. HELLRAISERS unexpectedly really stacked towards the A site. Neo wasn't the player who got spotted out. I think the player in Pop just got caught out, and there's the AWP coming into play. JR actually reacts to find that kill. There might be a bo1 out of this for the HONORIS side, but for now, HELLRAISERS, they are closing in on the side. The 5-7 or, sorry, P250 from behind. Certainly tried for the damage. They've kept this close, but it's Ryko and Prism now left to find 3 more defenders.
The positive for HELLRAISERS is it's just the pistols to have fallen so far, and Ryko, who had a nightmarish first half, now has to find 3 here in this retake, and only 1 he's able to find. HELLRAISERS reply immediately with a round of their own, putting 14 on the board and closing out that force. Their economy still going to be a little bit ropey heading forward into this next round, but HONORIS, they're going to buy up simply because they have to. They can't afford HELLRAISERS map point.
HELLRAISERS, they kept the AWP just to try and minimize the economic investment going forward, so that'll be a weapon for JR to use. Teammates M4s and the odd AK in the mix. The HONORIS buy isn't too perfect, but it's still pretty convincing considering issues they've had in the early stages in terms of money. And some AKs, a pistol on Neo, and JR towards stop sign wanted to at least get involved in the initial engagement. Let's look quite heavily down towards Ivy. In fact, it's slow, and the early utility damage is so great by the CT side.
Ryko aggressive, and this time he can punish Jalen, who tries to reclaim Pop Dog, but actually Kalinka can get 1 back. Now Taz is flashed in well to find Flaric. That brings the man advantage back in HONORIS' favor, but again, it looks as though HELLRAISERS are attempting some pop aggression here, and Problem could be in trouble instead. He wants to walk all the way for the long flank, and that means that Kalinka and JR, they've got to stay alive for an incredibly long time. Kalinka could get the lineup on the player who's just come out of Ivy as well, and JR looks like he wants to drop down with the AWP. This play is going to be a pincer maneuver back in towards the A bomb site for HELLRAISERS, and it started with Kalinka whiffing that spray down and his potential opportunity. Problem now on to Stomp, at least with 1 kill. Taz low on top of the train, he's shadow spotted. That's converted now as the rifle goes perhaps bigger, instead denied, and JR with 6 HP would have 2 to find with this AWP.
Oh, this is such a tough idea, or a tough idea for JR to really work with. Not impossible, but he's got 2 players to find, both somewhat tagged up awesome, and the pistol might be what he opts to work with instead, but use your AWP, look towards the long range angles. 1 player on site, the other towards stop sign. No kit and no utility. Certainly a downgrade. Spots the player on site. Ryko gone, so the lower health player dead. Means an AK now is left standing, but JR losing time means he just backs away and keeps the weapon he has. Honourable idea, but not ideal. HONORIS, they fight back to get 6.
For my money, I think JR should have gone for that one. Yes, he's on 6 HP. Yes, his team have no money. And yes, he's got an AWP on his back. All of those things instantly scream at you, don't go for it. But as soon as he converts that kill, second player on quite low HP, you obviously can't be sure whether that information has been communicated over. And time a limiting factor. His opponents, they're going to buy up in the next round. You have to guarantee if you lose the situation and go away and save, right? So your AWP you'd expect to have to use with an eco. Instead, HELLRAISERS forced around it, which is a perplexing decision for my money, but they want to take these rounds early, and this Pop Dog aggression might just get it. Flaric, he's in the perfect position. Nobody peeking this actively for HONORIS, and he's just going to pop up as soon as they explode out onto B.
Well, Problem, you set off the smoke, and I don't believe Flaric has actually pushed his way up into the ladder yet, so it's just a waiting game for HELLRAISERS. They wait for this player or the set of HONORIS players to now push up before they play and aggress the Pop Dog player up ladder. The utility comes in. HR, 3 players looking to defend this. JR and Ryko already allowed straight out. And look how close the UMP gets 3 of them. That could be the game more or less completed now. Prism, he's got a Galil, but he's got to find 4 individual players.
HONORIS attempting to get into the B site, but there's one huge problem for it, and it is problem from HELLRAISERS, who finds the triple kill with the UMP. Now they're going into the buy on this one, and just excellent timing. Peeks around correctly and then can convert that double spray before HONORIS are able to communicate where he is. Now they're one away from closing out the opening match of the day, and HONORIS, they would need an impressive amount of rounds at this point. 9 in a row to take us to overtime, and starting off with just the pistols and SMGs in this, it could be all over already.
Well, Mac 10's at least rushed in towards Olof, but Prism, he's already taken so much damage, and he really could die off of this. The scout, I thought, was going to go for the kill, but Kalinka with the deal can at least deliver one initial kill, and that nade, it could certainly set up something in Hyvee. Stomp and Taz spamming to get kills back. So quickly a 2-on-2, and not one that HELLRAISERS could necessarily throw away.
With Stomp now down, Taz has the weight of the world on his shoulders. Deagle to work with alongside 62 points of health up against an M4, an AWP, and 2 smokes to keep him out of the sight. If he chose to aggress into A, he's using his time with 50 seconds, but he's given himself away now. And that just makes things all the more difficult. Dropping a smoke to bait his cross into B, that's going to trigger JR's rotation over, but it's not convinced Problem whatsoever, who stayed tall, and those shots are enough to end the map in HELLRAISERS' favor, 16-6 in this opening match.
Well, what a dominant and what a comfortable performance, really, that HELLRAISERS brought out. We expected the CIS side would really do a lot of work, and they had a great little comforting performance. So it means they've got now the advantage going into that winners game. It means one more best of 3, and a win there would secure them a place in the playoffs. But commiserations